We got a Bud Light update to do, everybody. I haven't talked about Bud Light or Dylan Mulvaney in quite a while, and there was actually news that dropped a few weeks ago, or a little over a week ago, I'd say now. What is it, 23rd? About 11 days ago. That Dylan Mulvaney, the subject of why boycott or why the Bud Light boycott really happened, didn't feel safe in the United States after the Bud Light backlash. And so he decided to travel to South America. Yes, made the announcement on his TikTok that obviously has millions of followers. And that's the reason why Bud Light picked him to be one of their faces in the first place. I'm going to share this video on the screen for everybody to see. But this is Dylan Mulvaney. You can hear it on the radio, obviously, in Peru. Dylan Mulvaney's in Peru. Let's take a look and a listen.
Hi, is this an okay time?
Oh, I guess
okay,
I have my site
I'm
muted. Everybody, do not worry. I'm going to make sure I unmute it so we can all hear it. Sorry about that.
Peru, and I'm at Machu Picchu. Isn't this just so beautiful? I'm here by myself, and I used to do a ton of solo traveling. I'm telling you, it's the best. If you could ever do a solo trip somewhere, it is such a good way to get to know yourself better. But I came here to feel something. You know what I mean? And I definitely have. I've done shaman ceremonies that were like 10 years worth of therapy. It was wild. I've seen a lot of llamas, and the people here are so kind. I feel very safe here. It's a little sad that I had to leave my country to feel safe, but that will get better eventually. And I am dying for some Trader Joe's rolled chili lime chips. But other than that, I am so content. Still haven't been kissed yet, but I'm holding out hope. And
Gross.
most of all, you know, this trip
cool.
just has me feeling like I'm my own best friend again. And that is the best feeling in the world. And I hope that you feel that way about yourself too. And I love ya. Okay. Bye.
Well, I'm so happy Dylan loves me. That's really what I needed today.
I mean, I'm all in for the llamas. I love llamas.
All in for the llamas.
Cool.
Josh is all in for the llamas. Well, here's the thing that I find interesting about this. It's mainly the entire quote. I don't feel safe in my home country. It's so crazy. I have to go to another country to feel safe. Okay, yeah, and Peru's that place that's going to make you feel a lot safer. I'm going to take crap that didn't happen for 100, Alex, because I don't believe that in any way. I think the only thing that would make Dylan feel unsafe is maybe some dumb people that might have like sent mean DMs or something. Like I don't believe that Dylan really was getting like, okay, what you have done, Dylan, is you've made yourself a public figure. And then for a controversial issue, you're stupid if you don't understand that there's controversy around the entire transgender issue. And then you celebrate 365 days of girlhood, which is entirely just offensive to women. And then you expect to not have anybody be critical of your decisions. You expect no one to be critical. So I don't want to say you're asking for genuinely illegal things. No one should be sending direct threats to you of any kind or giving direct threats, period. I condemn that. That is awful. But when you're in the public eye and people are critical of you, you are asking for people to be critical of you. I get people that are critical of me. I have people that make videos that are in response to my own. I have people that call me racist, sexist, homophobic, all this crap that's not true. But I'm kind of inviting that criticism because I post a lot of my opinions on the internet. So I am inviting that criticism just as much as you are, Dylan. So to not feel safe in the United States, the only reason you don't feel safe in the United States is really because you've made yourself a public figure.
Yeah.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, it's interesting. Why? You know, why don't you feel safe? Do you not feel safe in LA or New York? Well, yeah, I don't feel safe in LA or New York either because they're LA or New York. That's where these leftist DAs have run rampant and wild and let people just get hurt and victimized because of it for equity, you know? And yeah, I mean, of course, that's where you feel unsafe. I feel perfectly safe in the town I live in. I feel perfectly safe down here in Blono. You know, it's like there's places you feel safe. It's just, yeah, if you're in New York or LA or Chicago, well, yeah, of course you're not going to feel safe. I don't feel safe there.
Yep.
And I'm like the demographics that's supposed to be protected.
Absolutely. Well, and so since now leaving and going to visit the llamas in Peru to feel safe, Dylan is now looking for work. Must be unemployed by Bud Light or something. But trans influencer out of the New York Post, Dylan Mulvaney, is looking to cash in on his newfound notoriety in the wake of the Bud Light fiasco by, quote, booking speaking opportunities on college campuses. And I think this is really interesting. I'm going to get into the exact facts of it. But so Dylan is looking for work on college campuses to talk to people about LGBTQIA plus advocacy, social media, women's empowerment, which is really funny, women's empowerment,
Yeah.
as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, first off, left the United States to feel safe, but also wants to speak on college campuses. I'll tell you, I mean, you'll probably be treated pretty well, Dylan, because college campuses are not places of truth. They're places of fantasy land and talking about incorrect ideas such as men becoming women and women becoming men. But I'll tell you, if you were Riley Gaines going onto a college campus trying to talk about men and women's sports, I'm sure you wouldn't feel safe.
Yeah.
If you were Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, anybody of that Ben Shapiro, all of them have in some way had a crime of violence, either through verbal or physical threat, made to them because they went and spoke on college campuses. So you're going to flee the country because you feel unsafe, but now you want to go speak on college campuses again, probably because that's one of the only places where your hooey wooey baloney bullcrap is actually going to be accepted. But I think the funniest part, and I want your thoughts on this, Josh, that Dylan Mulvaney, man who pretends to be a woman, gets paid as an actor to act as a woman when he's really a man, wants to speak to college students about women's empowerment. Josh, what kind of expertise do you think Dylan would have on women's empowerment?
I mean, as much as any other women's and gender studies major does. So like 0.
Really, but I think I think even a professor who teaches women's and gender studies that is actually a woman would be more experienced on empowering women.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Than a man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I've ran into a couple women's and gender studies professors at ISU. They're not the brightest people in the world. In fact, I think I got into a little disagreement with one, a little spat with one, but it was fun, good time. But I could definitely outright them in anything. But yeah, I mean, women's empowerment. So I think the bigger point, and I think the point that's really interesting to me is, yeah, Dylan Mulvaney flees to Peru, comes back, and now is going to go talk on college campuses.
That's the want here. That's what Dylan's trying to do. What I think is really insulting about this, Josh, is that so Dylan just recently celebrated 365 days of girlhood. Right?
Right.
Just so only a year of, even if we take the premise,
a little over a year now,
yeah, it's a little over a year, but let's accept the premise for a second, just to walk this out a little bit. Let's accept the premise that Dylan actually has become a woman. Let's accept that premise. Okay. So Dylan actually is a woman in this fantasy land. Dylan has become a woman, celebrates 1 year of becoming a woman. Now is claiming to be an expert that can go speak to other people about women's empowerment.
Right.
I know people that have been women for upwards of 20 years.
Right.
That are not necessarily even experts on women's empowerment, but would have more expertise because they've been women for 20 years.
Exactly.
How insulting is it even to accept the premise that Dylan is actually a woman? How insulting is that to women who were born women? How insulting is it to them to say that I've only been a woman, quote unquote, for a year, and I'm already qualified to go speak on women's empowerment and being a woman?
Yeah, I mean, I think to name a conservative woman who gets attacked for being a woman, Candace Owens.
Yep.
I mean, Candace Owens is relentlessly attacked, and it's, oh my God, you're giving into this narrative of what women are and how they're this and that, and it's like, but she's an actual woman. She's a woman. She's living her life. She may have a perspective you don't agree with, but maybe go listen to her and maybe see and just see what happens. I mean, there's tons of conservative women who are attacked and criticized and chastised for leading into the patriarchy, and all this stuff. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think I want to get Dylan to come to ISU.
I'd be very interested.
I'd
be very interested to see what Dylan.
I want Dylan to come to my Turning Point USA chapter meetings. I think it'd be one of the most fascinating interactions I would ever have.
I encourage it.
No, but the 26-year-old has seen her influence wither since the disastrous tie-up with Bud Light, which has jeopardized the brand's decades-long reign as the nation's top-selling beer, which we all know. The most recent figures released by Nielsen IQ data provided by Bump Williams Consulting showed that Bud Light sales have dropped 23.6% in the 1-week period ended in July 8th. But since that infamous post, Bud Light on April 1st, Mulvaney has only pitched a hair product. That's the only partnership that Mulvaney has had since that time is a hair product. It seems as though All of because before even Bud Light, Mulvaney posted brand endorsements from Ulta, Nike, Kate Spade, Charlotte Tilbury, MAC Cosmetics. And the influencer even worked with KitchenAid, Instacart, and the tampon company Tampax. So Mulvaney was raking it in, but after this Bud Light one, Mulvaney doesn't seem to be getting as much work, seeming to be why he wants to go and do college campus speeches. But out of Breitbart, we are coming up against a break here soon, but Anheuser-Busch CEO downplays. So the entire, I've talked to him in the past about Bud Light's CEO. This is Anheuser-Busch, the full parent company CEO, downplayed the Dylan Mulvaney impact on Bud Light. Michael Dorcas, or Duke Rias, something like that, CEO of the global brand Anheuser-Busch InBev, sought to downplay the impact of the Dylan Mulvaney partnership that has had in Bud Light. He said, quote, the Bud Light volume decline in the U.S. over the first 3 weeks of April, as publicly reported, would represent only 1% of our overall global volumes for that period. This was the result of one can. Was not made for production or sale to the general public. It was one post, not a formal campaign or advertisement. He's obviously trying to downplay it, as we know from previously stated statistics. Over $30 billion. I'm sorry, $30 million, I believe. Maybe it's not. I don't know if it's million or billion. Do you know, Josh?
I don't know, if I'm being honest.
Let's just
It's been
Google
a
real quick.
while.
How much has Bud Light lost? But what do you think about him trying to downplay it in
Yeah,
the
I
media?
mean, they're trying to downplay it because in at the base level, they're correct. It was a post, and it was a single can that wasn't for sale. At the base level,
Mhm.
100% correct. But when does it ever just stop there? When it comes to these these deals, I mean, these brand deals, and
Mhm.
at the end of the day, even if it was a post, you're still teaming up with someone. I mean, if you see an influencer post, oh hey, I love this so and so, they're still getting paid consistently. Every single like that video, every single like that thing gets, you're going to
Yep.
get some sort of money. Or every time you go buy that product and put a code in, you're getting money. So it was going to be a continued partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, real quick too, before we take this break, Bud Light, this was back even on June 2nd. June 2nd, they were down 27 billion. So it's billion with a B, not million. 27 billion, which means that I'd say they've probably lost upwards of 30 billion since this boycott began. And we're not going to stop. I think people are tired of companies going woke. And if you can see, I mean, the left tries to boycott Jason Aldean. His song hits #1. The right boycotts Bud Light, and they are actually losing a lot. I've covered it so many times on this show. They are losing a lot. The silent majority isn't being silent anymore, everybody. And so it's time that we are not speechless. Pun intended, absolutely. We'll be right back in the next segment with the end of the show with me and Josh rounding it out. Everybody, stay tuned. We got more coming up. Speechless on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal and beyond.